1 hour of focus a day will transform you. Read that again and really think about it. 60 minutes. Not your whole day, not your entire week. Just 1 hour where you give your full attention to the work that matters most. Most people waste that much time without even noticing, scrolling, overthinking, doing small things that don't change anything. But if you take just one of those hours and put it into real progress, your life will start to look different fast. This isn't about working yourself into the ground. It's about deciding that for 1 solid hour, nothing else exists except the thing that will move you forward. No phone, no distractions, no half effort. You'll be amazed at what you can build, learn, and fix when you give something your full focus. 1 hour a day is enough to change your results, your confidence, and your future, if you start now. Chapter 1. Give 1 hour to the thing you keep avoiding. You know exactly what it's like to have something you've been avoiding. It could be a conversation, a task, a piece of work, a commitment, or even a personal change you know you need to make. It sits in the back of your mind. You think about it when you wake up. You think about it before you go to bed. And yet, day after day, you find another reason to push it aside. The truth is, you don't need more time to get it done. You need to give it 1 solid hour of your focus. Just 1. 1 hour might not sound like much. You might think, that won't make a big difference. But the reason you're stuck isn't because the thing is impossible. It's because you haven't been willing to face it fully. Avoidance creates pressure. It builds up a mental weight that drains you even when you're not actively working on the thing. Hid away, every time you push it off, you add to the stress. And that stress doesn't disappear until you take action. If you give that thing you've been avoiding just 1 hour of your complete attention today, something powerful will happen. First, you will feel lighter, because action removes the mental clutter that inaction creates. Second, you'll start breaking the wall that avoidance has built in your mind. That wall isn't made of the task itself. It's made of fear, uncertainty, and resistance. Many people think they have to feel ready before they start. But readiness is a trap. Waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect energy, the perfect mood. That's how years pass without progress. You don't need to feel ready to start. You need to start, and then you will feel ready. If the thing you've been avoiding feels too big, don't try to finish it in one go. 1 hour is not about completing everything. It's about committing to progress. Think of it like opening a locked door. You don't have to walk all the way through yet. But you do have to turn the key. That 1 hour is your key. When you sit down for that focused hour, protect it like it's the most important meeting of your life. No phone, no social media, no wandering off to quickly check something. You don't need to multitask. You need to single task. The human mind works best when it's fully engaged in one thing at a time. And when you give your full mind to something, even for a short time, you produce better work in 1 hour than in several distracted hours combined. Here's the truth. The hardest part is the first 10 minutes. That's when you feel the strongest urge to avoid, to get up, to delay. Push past those 10 minutes. Once you're in it, momentum will carry you further than you thought possible. The people who transform their lives aren't the ones who work endlessly without rest. They're the ones who work with intention. They know that progress isn't about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right thing, consistently. And 1 hour of focus on the thing you've been avoiding is more valuable than 10 hours of scattered effort on easy tasks. Think about how different your life would look if you made this a daily habit. 1 hour each day for the next 30 days. That's 30 hours invested in the thing you've been avoiding for months or even years. In 30 hours, you can finish projects that have been haunting you. You can build skills you've been too scared to start learning. You can repair relationships you've been too nervous to confront. This is not just about productivity, it's about self-respect. Every time you avoid something important, you weaken your trust in yourself. Every time you face it, you strengthen that trust. And trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence. People think confidence comes from feeling good, but real confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. You will notice something else when you start giving that 1 hour to what you've been avoiding. You'll feel a shift in how you carry yourself. You'll walk a little taller. You'll speak with more certainty. You'll think more clearly. That's because you're no longer carrying the mental weight of avoidance. You've replaced hesitation with progress. And here's the important part. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is the result of action, not the cause of it. If you sit around waiting to feel like doing it, you'll keep waiting. But if you start, even when you don't feel like it, your brain will reward you. That reward will come in the form of momentum, clarity, and satisfaction. When you sit down for that 1 hour, set a clear goal for what you want to achieve in that time. Don't just work on it. Decide exactly what progress looks like. It could be writing a specific number of words, finishing a certain section, organizing a set of documents, practicing a particular skill. The more specific your goal, the easier it will be to stay focused. Discipline is built in moments like this. It's not about forcing yourself to work all day. It's about showing up when it matters. When you can do one hard thing for one uninterrupted hour, you train your mind to push past discomfort. And when you can do that daily, you become unstoppable. Some people will say, "I don't have an hour," but that's not true. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. The difference is how you use them. You may have to wake up an hour earlier. You may have to turn off the TV at night. You may have to say no to something that wastes your time. But if you want change, you have to make space for it. 1 hour a day is 4% of your day. That 4% can change the other 96%, but only if you commit to it fully. And when you start doing this, you'll notice something else. Other parts of your life will improve too. Why? Because when you prove to yourself that you can face the thing you've been avoiding, you stop running from other challenges. You build mental strength that carries over into every area, your work, your relationships, your health. This is also how you break the cycle of procrastination. Procrastination is not just laziness. It's often fear. Fear that you won't do it perfectly, fear that it will be too hard, fear that you'll fail. But 1 hour of focus is the antidote. It's small enough to feel possible, yet powerful enough to create real progress. Every single day you choose between comfort and growth. Comfort tells you to put it off. Growth tells you to face it. The choice is yours. And here's the thing, no one can do that 1 hour for you. It's your responsibility, it's your hour, it's your life. Imagine looking back a year from now and realizing you gave 1 hour a day to the thing you kept avoiding. That's 365 hours, over 9 full work weeks of progress. How much closer would you be to your goals? How much lighter would you feel? How much more confident would you be? The change doesn't happen overnight, but it starts immediately. The first time you sit down and face that thing, you'll feel it. That sense of, I'm finally doing it. That's a feeling you can't buy. That's a feeling you can't get from reading another book or watching another video. That feeling only comes from action. So today, make the decision. Take the thing you've been avoiding and give it 1 focused hour. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Sit down, remove distractions. Decide exactly what you're going to do in that hour, and then do it. You may be surprised at how quickly progress comes once you stop running from it. You may find that the thing you've been avoiding isn't nearly as bad as you imagined. That's because the fear of doing it is always worse than the reality of doing it. By facing it daily, you'll build a habit of courage, and that courage will carry you far beyond this one task. You'll start tackling other things faster. You'll start moving through life with a sense of control, and that control will fuel even greater progress. 1 hour a day might not seem like much, but it's enough to transform you if you give it to the right thing. And the right thing is often the one you've been avoiding the most. So take the challenge. Face it for 1 hour today, then again tomorrow, and the next day. Before long, you'll see what most people never see, the incredible power of small, consistent, focused action. You won't just get more done, you'll become the kind of person who does what needs to be done. That's how transformation happens, not in one big leap, but in one focused hour at a time. And it starts right now, with the thing you've been avoiding. Chapter 2. Spend 1 hour proving you can stay fully present. Most people go through their day without ever being fully present. They're physically in one place but mentally scattered across 100 thoughts, plans and worries. They're checking their phone while in the middle of a conversation. They're thinking about tomorrow's work while eating dinner. They're replaying something that happened last week while sitting in a meeting. The sooner and morning, a sooner while life, and because their attention is constantly divided, they miss the real depth and power of the moment they're in. Spending 1 hour proving you can stay fully present is not just about concentration. It's about training your mind to live in the only place where life actually happens, right now. When you give an hour to something without allowing your attention to drift, you experience the task at its fullest. You hear details you would normally overlook. You see things with clarity. You feel more connected to what you're doing, and you begin to realize just how much of your energy has been leaking away through distraction. Staying present for an entire hour is harder than most people think. You might believe you can do it, but the moment you sit down, your mind will try to wander. It will tell you to check that notification. It will remind you of something you forgot to do. It will push you toward thinking about the past or the future. And each time you have to pull yourself back to the present moment. That's the training. That's the skill you're building. Choose something important for your hour. It could be reading a book that challenges you, working deeply on a project, practicing a skill, or even having a real conversation with someone you care about. The task itself matters less than the quality of your focus. The purpose is to keep your mind here, on this, without letting it drift into 1,000 other places. The first step is to create an environment that supports your presence. If you sit in a place where your phone is buzzing, the TV is on, and people are interrupting you every few minutes, you're setting yourself up to fail. Presence needs space. It needs quiet. It needs you to remove the easy exits for your attention. Put your phone in another room, close the door, let people know you are not available for the next hour. Then, as you begin, make a conscious decision. For the next 60 minutes, this is all that matters. Everything else can wait. If a thought about something unrelated comes up, acknowledge it and let it go. Don't follow it, don't entertain it. Bring yourself back to the task at hand. At first, you may have to do this dozens of times in an hour. That's normal. Presence isn't about never losing focus. It's about noticing when you've drifted and returning without judgment. The more you do this, the stronger your ability to stay present will become. Just like muscles grow with exercise, your focus sharpens with use. And that sharpness changes how you work. It changes how you learn. It changes how you connect with others. Because when you give someone or something your full attention, you create a deeper impact. People can tell when you're actually listening. They can tell when you're genuinely engaged. And work done with full focus carries a higher quality than work done in fragments. As another benefit to practicing presence for an hour, you feel more satisfied. Distraction leaves you feeling incomplete, like you've been busy but haven't really accomplished anything. Presence leaves you with the sense that you've truly invested yourself into what you were doing. You've been in it fully, and that sense of completion is one of the most rewarding feelings you can have at the end of the day. This habit also reveals how often you're pulled away from the moment. Once you start training for presence, you'll notice just how automatic distraction has become. You'll catch yourself reaching for your phone when you don't need to. You'll notice your mind drifting in the middle of tasks you thought you were paying attention to. These moments are not failures, they're opportunities to strengthen your focus. Each time you return to the present, you're building mental discipline. Being fully present for an hour also reduces stress. Much of stress comes from constantly thinking about what's next or worrying about what already happened. When you anchor yourself to the moment, you stop feeding those thoughts. You stop living in the past and the future, and for that hour, you live in the now. The mind becomes calmer, your breathing steadies, your body relaxes. That state of calm makes you more effective, not less. If you choose to spend your hour with another person, listening, talking, working together, something powerful happens. They feel valued in a way that's rare today. Most people are so distracted that true attention feels like a gift. In that hour, you can strengthen relationships, resolve misunderstandings, and connect in a way that can't happen if your mind is elsewhere. The impact of this practice grows when you do it consistently. 1 hour a day might seem small, but it's enough to rewire how you interact with the world. You start carrying that presence into other parts of your day without even thinking about it. You catch yourself during dinner and decide to put the phone down. You stop multitasking during conversations. You start working on tasks with more depth and less hurry. This also trains you to be more intentional. When you stay present for an hour, you're choosing where your energy goes. You're not letting it be stolen by whatever demands your attention in the moment. You're deciding, this is where I will be, this is what I will do. That sense of control is powerful. It builds confidence. It makes you feel capable of steering your own life instead of being pushed around by every distraction. If you want to measure your progress, try this. At the end of your hour, reflect on how many times your mind drifted and how quickly you brought it back. Over time, you'll notice that the number of distractions decreases. You'll also notice that when distractions do come, you return to focus faster. That's proof that your mind is becoming sharper. You might wonder, what if I get bored? That's part of the challenge. Boredom is often the mind's way of avoiding discipline. It wants novelty, stimulation, something easier than the task at hand. But pushing through boredom strengthens you. It teaches you to stay when it's tempting to escape. And often, if you stay with the task, boredom fades and engagement deepens. Presence isn't just about working better. It's about living better. When you train yourself to be fully here, you experience life more vividly. Food tastes better when you actually taste it. Music feels richer when you actually listen. A conversation is more meaningful when you're not half in it and half somewhere else. But that's not just productivity, that's quality of life. In a world full of constant noise, being able to give your full attention to something for 1 hour is a rare and valuable skill. It sets you apart. It makes your work stand out. It makes your relationships stronger. And it makes you feel more grounded and in control of yourself. So each day, set aside that 1 hour. Treat it like a commitment you can't break. Prepare for it by removing distractions. Decide exactly what you'll focus on. Then give it everything you have for those 60 minutes. At the end, notice how you feel. Notice the clarity in your mind, the sense of accomplishment, the calm that comes from not being pulled in 100 directions. If you can train yourself to do this every day, you'll find that your ability to stay present will spill over into the rest of your life. You'll be less reactive, you'll think more clearly, you'll make better decisions because you'll actually be paying attention to what's happening, not just running on autopilot. This is how transformation begins. Not by doing more things, but by doing the important things with your full presence. 1 hour a day is all it takes to start building that ability. Over weeks and months, that single hour will not just improve your focus, it will change how you live. And when you change how you live, you change everything.
Chapter 3. Use 1 hour to finish what you keep postponing. There are things in your life right now that have been sitting unfinished for far too long. You know exactly what they are. They've been on your mind for weeks, months, maybe even years. Every time you remember them, you feel a small weight in your chest. You tell yourself you'll get to them soon, but that soon never seems to arrive. These unfinished things don't just take up space on your to-do list. They take up space in your head. They drain energy, create stress, and keep you from moving forward with a clear mind. The habit of postponing doesn't just happen once. It becomes a pattern. When you leave something unfinished, it quietly trains your brain to accept loose ends. And when you accept loose ends, they multiply. A postponed task today turns into 2 postponed tasks next week. And before you know it, you're surrounded by a list of half-done commitments that hang over you like a shadow. That's why using 1 focused hour to finish what you've been putting off can change your entire sense of control over your life. Finishing something you've delayed carries a different kind of satisfaction than starting something new. Starting feels exciting. Finishing feels freeing. When you complete a task that's been lingering, you don't just cross it off a list, you remove a mental burden. You free yourself from the quiet guilt that comes from knowing it's still waiting for you. That freedom creates momentum, and momentum makes it easier to handle the next thing you've been avoiding. To make this work, you have to approach it with clarity. Don't just say, "I'll work on it for an hour." That's not enough. Decide before the hour begins exactly what finishing looks like. Be specific. If it's an email you've been delaying, your goal is to write it, review it, and send it before the hour ends. If it's paperwork you've been avoiding, your goal is to fill it out completely, check for accuracy, and file it. If it's a room you've been meaning to organize, your goal is to have it done and ready for use by the end of that hour. The clock matters. Knowing you have only 60 minutes creates a sense of urgency that pushes you to focus. You can't waste time scrolling, daydreaming, or overthinking. You're here to finish, not just to make progress. That mindset forces you to cut away unnecessary steps, ignore perfectionism, and get straight to what matters most. One reason people keep postponing tasks is that they've built them up in their mind as bigger than they really are. You might think something will take hours or even days, but once you actually sit down to do it, you realize it's much smaller than you imagined. The resistance you've been feeling wasn't because the task was too big, it was because you were carrying it around without taking action. That's why the first few minutes of the hour are so important. Once you start, you often see the finish line is much closer than you thought. Another reason for postponing is perfectionism. You might tell yourself you're waiting for the right time to do it properly, but that perfect time never comes. You don't need perfect. You need done. Finished work can be improved later, but unfinished work just sits there, holding you back. This 1 hour approach forces you to accept that done is better than delayed. You also have to watch for the traps your mind will set during the hour. It will tell you to stop and check your messages. It will convince you that you need a break before you've even gotten halfway through. It might even try to distract you with other productive tasks that aren't what you set out to do. Stay with it. Your focus must remain locked on the one thing you decided to finish. Completing postponed tasks is not just about productivity, it's about identity. Every time you finish something you've delayed, you prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who follows through. You teach your mind that your word to yourself matters. Over time, this builds self-respect, and self-respect builds confidence. The opposite is also true. Every time you break your own commitment, you weaken that trust in yourself. This is why even small wins matter. Think about how different your environment, your work, and your mind would feel if you cleared away the backlog of unfinished business in your life. That pile of unfiled documents gone. That half-written project completed. That important call finally made. The weight you'd remove from your shoulders would be more valuable than the task itself. If you make this a daily habit, the results compound. 1 hour a day for a month means 30 completed tasks that were previously sitting unfinished. Imagine what that does to your mental space. You'd have more room for creativity, more clarity in decision-making, and more energy for the things that actually move your life forward. This practice also helps you handle new tasks better. Once you've experienced the relief of clearing unfinished work, you're less likely to let new things pile up. You become quicker to act. You address things when they appear instead of letting them collect dust. That kind of responsiveness changes the pace of your life. You stop feeling behind, and you start feeling ahead. The act of finishing also carries a psychological reward. When you complete something, your brain releases a small burst of satisfaction. This is the mind's way of encouraging you to repeat the behavior. That's why once you've finished one postponed task, you might feel energized enough to tackle another. That momentum is a powerful tool. Use it. Sometimes, what you've been postponing isn't a task but a decision. You've been delaying making a choice because you're afraid of the consequences, but indecision is its own form of postponement, and it's just as draining as an unfinished project. If that's the case, use your hour to make the call, weigh your options, decide, and move forward. A decision made is a decision no longer haunting you. The discipline you build in these 1 hour sessions will carry over into other areas of life. You'll start noticing that you hesitate less. You'll see that your tolerance for clutter, mental or physical, shrinks. You'll feel a new kind of control over your time and energy. And control is what allows you to focus on bigger, more meaningful goals without the constant drag of unfinished business pulling at you. One thing to remember: the goal isn't to cram as much as possible into an hour. The goal is to bring something to completion. That could be one small task or one significant project, depending on its size. What matters is that when the hour ends, it's done, not still waiting for later. There will be days when you don't feel like it, days when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. Those are the days when finishing matters most. Because every time you finish something when you didn't want to, you strengthen your ability to act, regardless of how you feel. And that's a skill that will serve you in every area of life. When you look back months from now, you won't remember the exact details of every task you finished. What you will remember is the shift in how you operate. You'll remember that you stopped letting things pile up. You'll remember that you stopped letting things pile up. You'll remember that you became someone who gets things done. You'll remember that you took control of the loose ends in your life and turned them into accomplishments. And that's the real transformation here. It's not just about crossing things off a list. It's about changing the way you relate to your commitment. When you use 1 hour to finish what you keep postponing, you're telling yourself, I don't leave things undone. That's a powerful identity to build. It changes how you approach new challenges, how you manage your time, and how you see yourself. Start today. Pick one thing you've been postponing and commit to finishing it in the next hour. No half effort, no distractions, just you, the task, and the commitment to see it through. When the hour ends and it's done, notice how different you feel. That feeling is your proof. It's worth it. And the more you repeat this, the more you'll build a life free from the weight of unfinished business. That's a life where you move faster, think clearer, and achieve more because nothing is holding you back. Chapter 4. Work 1 hour like it decides your entire future. Most people treat an hour of their day as if it's something small, something that comes and goes without much meaning. But there's a different way to see it. What if you worked for 1 single hour with the mindset that everything about your future depended on what you did in that time? What if you treated that hour as the most important hour of your life? The way you approach it would change instantly. You wouldn't waste time. You wouldn't scroll through your phone. You wouldn't half commit to the task. You would show up fully because you'd understand that the way you spend that hour could shape where you end up. When you adopt this mindset, you start respecting time in a way most people never do. You realize that the difference between ordinary effort and extraordinary effort is often found in how seriously you take the moments you have. If you knew that a single hour could decide whether you succeed or fail, whether you move forward or stay stuck, you'd push yourself harder than you usually do. That level of focus can transform the quality of your work, and over time it can transform your life. An hour can feel short, but when you work with full commitment, it's enough to make significant progress. The problem is that most people approach their work casually. They're doing it, but they're not really in it. Their attention drifts, their pace slows, and they end up with results that match the level of their focus. When you work as if your future depends on it, there's no casual approach. Every second matters. You move with purpose. You think faster. You execute with precision. This mindset also forces you to eliminate unnecessary actions. You stop doing things that don't push you toward your goal. You stop filling time with busy work that feels productive but produces nothing real. You become clear on what actually matters in that hour, and you give all of yourself to it. This isn't about working endlessly without rest. It's about understanding that there are moments in life when you must perform at your highest level, and this 1 hour is one of those moments. Imagine you're competing for an opportunity that could change your life, and you've been given exactly 1 hour to prove yourself. Would you take breaks to check your messages? Would you let your mind wander? Or would you push yourself to deliver the best work you've ever done? That's the energy you need to bring every single time you work under this principle. Because the truth is, you never really know which hour will be the one that opens the door to your next big step. Working with this intensity doesn't just produce better results, it changes you as a person. You develop a standard for yourself that doesn't allow for laziness or half effort. You get used to operating at a higher level, and that becomes your norm. This kind of discipline makes you stand out, because most people never push themselves to see what they're truly capable of in a short, focused burst of time. The mental shift is simple. Stop seeing the hour as just another part of your day. See it as a test. See it as a chance to prove to yourself what you can accomplish when you give your full attention, energy, and skill to a single goal. When you work this way, you don't waste time on excuses. You commit fully, because you've already decided that this hour is too valuable to waste. The benefits go beyond the task at hand. When you repeatedly give this level of focus to your work, your mind becomes sharper. You train yourself to think clearly under pressure. You develop the ability to work without being thrown off by distractions. You build the habit of showing up as your best self, no matter how you feel. Over time, that habit shapes your character and your future. It's important to prepare for this hour before it starts. You can't just step into it casually and expect peak performance. You need to clear your environment of anything that can pull your focus away. You need to know exactly what you're going to work on, and you need to set the expectation for yourself that once the hour begins, you are fully in. You're not available for anything else. You're not going to stop until it's done. This preparation sets the tone for the intensity you need to bring. The difference between treating an hour like any other and treating it like it decides your future is the level of urgency you feel. Urgency wakes you up. It tells your mind and body that this matters right now. Without urgency, it's too easy to drift, to do things slowly, to let time slip away without realizing it. With urgency, every minute feels valuable, and you work with a sharpness you don't normally access. There's also a confidence that comes from knowing you can perform under this kind of pressure. When you've trained yourself to give everything in a single hour, you start to trust yourself more. You know that when it matters most, you can deliver. That self-trust is one of the most valuable things you can have, because it removes doubt. You stop wondering if you're capable, and you start proving that you are. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that big achievements come only from long, exhausting days of work. Yes, long hours have their place, but often it's the short, highly intense bursts that create the breakthroughs. You can waste an entire day working at 50% of your capacity, or you can accomplish more in 1 hour of full commitment than in those entire 8 distracted hours combined. When you finish an hour like this, you feel it. You know you've given everything you had. There's a satisfaction in that, even if the results aren't immediate. You walk away knowing you didn't hold back, and that feeling builds pride. Over time, those hours stack up, and the impact becomes undeniable. 1 hour a day of working like it decides your future is 365 hours a year, over 9 full work weeks at your absolute best. That level of performance will move you far ahead of where you'd be otherwise. This approach also eliminates regret. Many people look back and realize they could have worked harder, tried more, or been more focused. They see opportunities they wasted because they didn't give their best. When you work 1 hour like your future depends on it, you remove that regret. You can look back and know you gave everything you could in that moment. There's a discipline in showing up this way, even when no one is watching. When you're alone and there's no immediate reward, it's tempting to relax your standards. But that's when it matters most. The work you do when no one sees it is the work that sets you apart later. It's the quiet hours of focus that prepare you for the moments when everyone is watching. The truth is, you don't know which hour will be the one that changes everything. It could be the hour you finish a project and send it out. It could be the hour you come up with an idea that takes your work to a new level. It could be the hour you solve a problem that's been holding you back, and because you don't know, you can't afford to treat any hour as unimportant. This mindset doesn't just apply to work, it applies to life. If you're training, learn like your health depends on it. If you're studying, learn like it's the key to your next opportunity. If you're building something, build like it's the foundation of your future. That intensity changes the outcome, and it changes you. The difference in results between someone who treats an hour casually and someone who treats it like it decides their future is massive. Over time, those differences create completely different lives. One life is filled with half-finished efforts and missed opportunities. The other is built on a foundation of consistent, high-level performance. When you sit down for this kind of hour, remove every distraction, set a clear target, and push yourself to meet it before the time ends. Ignore the urge to slow down. Don't waste a second. Keep going until the work is complete or the hour is done. And when it's over, take a moment to reflect on what you achieved. Not just in terms of the work, but in terms of the standard you upheld for yourself. Working 1 hour like it decides your entire future is about more than just productivity. It's about living with urgency, purpose, and a refusal to waste time. It's about building a reputation with yourself that says, when it matters, I show up fully. Do that every day, and you won't just be more productive, you'll be unstoppable. Chapter 5. Focus 1 hour only on what truly moves you ahead. Every day you are faced with choices about where your time goes. Some things keep you busy, but don't take you anywhere. They fill the hours, but when you look back, they didn't make you any better, richer in experience, stronger in skill, or closer to your goals. Then there are the things that truly move you ahead, the actions that create progress you can measure and feel. The challenge is that the important things are often the ones you avoid, while the unimportant ones are easy to say yes to. That is why giving 1 focused hour only to what truly moves you ahead can change the direction of your life. Progress is not the result of doing more, it's the result of doing what matters most. You could spend 10 hours answering emails, organizing small details, or attending meetings that lead nowhere, and at the end of the day feel exhausted without having moved forward. But 1 hour invested in the right place can outmatch all of that. That hour has to go to the work that directly impacts your future, your income, your skills, your relationships, or your personal growth. The first step is knowing what actually moves you ahead. This is where most people get stuck. They confuse being active with being effective. To break free from that trap, you have to define your true priorities. Ask yourself, if I could only do one thing today that would make my life better tomorrow, what would it be? The answer to that question is where your hour belongs. Once you know the real driver of progress, you can give it your undivided attention without being pulled into distractions disguised as urgent work. When you start your hour, be ruthless about protecting it. This is not the time to multitask. Multitasking is one of the biggest thieves of progress. It gives you the illusion of getting more done, but in reality it spreads your energy so thin that nothing gets your best. Your focus must be absolute. Every message, notification, or thought that tries to pull you away needs to wait. For that hour, nothing else exists except the work that matters most. This focused hour is where you make strategic moves. It's where you push forward on the big project instead of reacting to every little interruption. It's where you practice the skill that will bring you better opportunities. It's where you develop the plan that will take your idea from concept to reality. The key is to direct your energy toward actions that produce visible progress. If you can't point to the result after the hour is over, it probably wasn't the best use of your time. Most people underestimate how much they can achieve in a single uninterrupted hour. They think, it's just 60 minutes, and then they give it away to something unimportant. But when you choose a task that truly matters and work on it without pause, those 60 minutes can produce more growth than an entire week of scattered effort. That's because focus multiplies results. When your mind is locked on one target, every minute works harder for you. Another part of this practice is learning to say no. There will always be demands on your time. People will ask for help with things that don't align with your priorities. New ideas will tempt you to switch focus. Distractions will present themselves as opportunity. If you can't say no to those, you'll keep giving your best hours to what doesn't move you forward. Protecting your 1 hour means making tough choices about what gets your attention and what doesn't. There's also a mental shift that comes from working this way. When you consistently give your full focus to what matters most, you start thinking differently about your time. You stop measuring productivity in terms of how many hours you worked and start measuring it by the progress you made. You stop chasing every small win and instead go after the moves that actually change your position in life. That shift makes you more strategic and more intentional in everything you do. Working on what truly moves you ahead often feels uncomfortable. These are usually the tasks that challenge you, push you, or force you to learn something new. That's why many people avoid them. They require more effort, more thinking, and sometimes more risk. But those are exactly the reasons they matter. Easy tasks keep you where you are. Difficult, high-impact tasks pull you to the next level. When you dedicate your hour to them, you accelerate your growth. This hour can look different for everyone. For one person, it might be an intense study session to master a new skill. For another, it could be focused writing to complete an important proposal. For someone else, it might be building a product, making high-value sales calls, or training their body to peak condition. The specific action matters less than the fact that it is the single most valuable thing you can do for your future right now. You'll notice that when you finish this hour, you feel a different kind of satisfaction. It's not just the relief of getting something done, it's the confidence of knowing you invested your time where it counts. You can look at the work and see its value. That feeling builds over time. The more you do it, the more momentum you create, and the easier it becomes to spot what deserves your focus. There will be days when everything in your schedule tries to push this hour out. That's when you have to remember that if you give away this hour, you're giving away your progress. You can handle less important things later, but you can't replace the impact of a well-spent hour on what truly matters. If you can, schedule it early in the day before interruptions pile up. Treat it like an unbreakable meeting with your future self. To get the most from this hour, be clear about the outcome you want before you start. Don't just work on something, decide exactly what progress looks like for today. That could be finishing a specific section, closing a set number of deals, solving a key problem, or reaching a measurable milestone. The more defined your goal, the more focused your actions will be, and the more likely you are to finish with a result you're proud of. This practice also teaches you to value quality over quantity. 100 low-impact tasks will never match the progress of one high-impact task done well. When you see that for yourself, you stop chasing busyness and start chasing result. You stop filling your day just to feel productive and start building your day to actually move forward. That's how you create lasting change. If you do this every day, even for just 1 hour, the effect compounds. A month from now, you'll see the difference in your skills, your projects, and your opportunities. 6 months from now, the gap between where you are and where you could have been without this practice will be obvious. A year from now, it will be life-changing. And all of it starts with the choice to give 1 hour to the work that matters most. The truth is, your future isn't built by random activity, it's built by deliberate action, and deliberate action starts with focus. That's why this 1 hour matters so much. It's not about working longer, it's about working smarter. It's about identifying the single most important thing you can do today, and doing it with everything you have. That's how you make progress you can actually see. Every day gives you the same choice. Spend your time on what's urgent, or spend it on what's important. Urgent will always be loud. Important will often be quiet. But the quiet work is what moves you forward. The loud work only keeps you busy. 1 hour of important work every day can make the difference between standing still and making real progress. So decide what truly moves you ahead. Commit to giving it 1 uninterrupted hour. Protect that time as if it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Work with intention, finish with a result, and repeat tomorrow. Over time, those hours will stack into a future built on consistent, meaningful progress. And when you look back, you'll know that you didn't just spend your days, you invested them.
Chapter 6. Spend 1 hour pushing past the moment you want to quit. There's a point in almost every task, every workout, every learning session, and every challenge where you feel the urge to stop. It doesn't always come at the same time, but it comes. It's the moment where your energy dips, your motivation fades, and your mind starts coming up with reasons why it's okay to walk away. You tell yourself you've done enough. You tell yourself you'll get back to it later. You tell yourself it's not worth the effort right now. That moment is the real test. It's where progress is either built or lost.
If you spend 1 hour pushing past that exact moment instead of giving into it, you will find strength, endurance and growth that you didn't know you had. The mind's first instinct is to protect you from discomfort. When you start feeling mental fatigue, boredom or frustration, it tries to steer you towards something easier. It wants to conserve energy. But growth isn't built in the moments when things are easy. It's built in the moments when things are hard and you keep going anyway. The problem is that most people have trained themselves to quit the second it becomes uncomfortable. And because they've built that habit, they never see what's on the other side of that discomfort. Pushing past the quitting point isn't about ignoring pain or forcing yourself into exhaustion for no reason. It's about proving to yourself that the feeling of wanting to stop is not the same as needing to stop. Your mind will tell you that you've reached your limit, but more often than not, that limit is just a barrier you've built through habit. When you push beyond it, you discover you had more in you all along. 1 hour may not sound like much, but when you commit to staying in the fight after you feel like quitting, that hour changes everything. In those 60 minutes, you're teaching yourself resilience. You're training yourself to keep showing up, even when your emotions are telling you to leave. And that mental toughness carries into every part of your life, your work, your health, your relationships, and your goals. This practice starts with recognizing the moment you want to quit. You have to be aware enough to notice when it's happening. It's often subtle at first. A wandering thought, a drop in effort, a sudden urge to check something unrelated. That's the moment to decide I'm staying. Instead of giving in to that drift, you plant yourself firmly in the work. You lock your focus on the next action you can take, and you refuse to let the urge to stop win. Once you decide to push past it, your mind will resist. It might feel heavier, slower, or restless. You may notice more mistakes or frustration. This is where most people walk away, but this is also the doorway to the next level. If you stay with it, you'll often find that a second wind arrives. Your focus sharpens again, your body adjusts, and suddenly the work feels possible. That second wind doesn't come to people who quit early. It comes to people who stay in the discomfort long enough to reach it. One of the most powerful things about this hour is the message it sends to yourself. You're proving that your commitment matters more than your feelings in the moment. Feelings come and go. They change with energy levels, distractions, and mood. But commitment is what determines the outcome. Every time you push past the moment you want to quit, you reinforce the idea that your word to yourself is unbreakable. That trust in yourself becomes one of your greatest strengths. It's also important to understand that pushing past the quitting point is not about working carelessly. It's about working with intention and discipline, even in discomfort. Sloppy effort just to say you kept going isn't the goal. The goal is to keep your quality high while you're tired, frustrated, or tempted to stop. That ability to maintain standards under pressure is rare, and it's what separates the people who talk about improvement from the people who actually achieve it. There's a different kind of progress that comes from this practice. It's not always visible right away. Sometimes the result is just that you finished something you would normally have left incomplete. Other times it's that you broke through a plateau in skill or strength. And often it's simply the knowledge that you have a deeper capacity than you thought. That knowledge changes the way you approach every challenge in the future. This is why the best growth often happens after you feel like quitting. Think about any great achievement in sports, business, or personal goals. There was a point where the person could have stopped. But they did. They stayed in it. They worked through the doubt, the fatigue, and the discomfort, and that decision was the turning point. You don't have to be chasing some massive goal to benefit from this. Even in daily work, the discipline to go beyond the quitting moment will give you an edge that most people never develop. Your environment plays a role in this too. If you surround yourself with distractions, temptations, and easy exits, it's much harder to stay past the quitting point. That's why you have to set up conditions that make quitting harder. Remove the escape routes. Commit publicly if you need to. Put yourself in a situation where walking away is less comfortable than staying. Sometimes the best way to build endurance is to give yourself no choice but to keep going. It's also worth noting that the first time you try this, it will be tough. Your mind will fight you harder than you expect. That's because it's not used to being overruled in this way. But each time you push past, it gets a little easier. You start recognizing the patterns, the initial dip in motivation, the excuses that come up, the way your body and mind start to settle again once you've stayed with it for a while. Over time, that awareness makes it easier to see quitting as an option you don't need to take. When you look back at the work you've done, the moments you're proudest of are rarely the ones where everything felt easy. They're the ones where you stayed despite wanting to leave. They're the ones where you found out what you were really capable of when comfort wasn't available. That pride doesn't just make you feel good, it reshapes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who tries until it gets hard, and start seeing yourself as someone who keeps going until it's done. One of the hidden benefits of this practice is that it changes your relationship with challenges. Instead of seeing difficulty as a reason to stop, you start seeing it as a signal that you're close to growth. That moment where you want to quit becomes a marker. You know that if you push through it, you're about to enter a space where improvement happens. This mindset makes you more fearless in tackling bigger goals because you've built the habit of staying in the fight. Even outside of work or training, this ability shows up in daily life. When a difficult conversation needs to be had, you won't walk away when it gets uncomfortable. When a problem requires more patience than you feel like giving, you'll stay engaged. When a new skill takes longer to master than you hoped, you'll keep showing up. The discipline to stay past the quitting point is universal. It improves everything you touch. An hour might feel long when you're in that moment, but that's what makes it valuable. It forces you to deal with the resistance instead of avoiding it. You don't just get through the hour, you transform during it. You finish knowing you've done something most people won't do. And that knowledge gives you momentum to tackle the next challenge with even more strength. If you make this a habit, spending 1 hour pushing past the moment you want to quit, you'll notice changes in how you approach your goals. You won't be as quick to give up. You'll be calmer under pressure. You'll have a deeper well of patience and resilience to draw from. You'll start to see quitting as a choice, not an automatic reaction. And over time, that mindset will put you in a category of people who can be relied on to finish what they start, no matter how they feel in the middle of it. So the next time you hit that wall and the thought of stopping comes up, recognize it for what it is, a test, and instead of giving in, decide to stay for 1 more hour. Keep moving, keep working, keep showing up, because every time you do, you're building the kind of strength that lasts far beyond the hour itself. You're building a version of yourself that doesn't stop when it's hard. And that version is the one who reaches the goals others only talk about.
Chapter 7. Use 1 hour to fix one weakness in your life. Every person has weaknesses, and most of them are not a mystery to us. We know where we fall short. We know the habits, the skills, the tendencies, or the attitudes that keep us from moving forward. We feel them every time we miss an opportunity, make the same mistake again, or fall behind where we could be. But instead of addressing them, most people learn to work around them, hoping they won't matter. The truth is, they do matter. A weakness left unfixed becomes a constant obstacle, and it will follow you into every new opportunity you try to take on. That's why dedicating 1 focused hour to fixing one weakness in your life can be one of the most valuable uses of your time. The first step is to be honest with yourself about what your weakness is. This isn't about being overly critical or tearing yourself down. It's about clarity. You can't fix what you refuse to see. For some, the weakness might be a lack of discipline. For others,
It could be poor communication, low confidence, a short temper, or an inability to stay organized. It might even be a gap in knowledge or a skill that your work or life requires, but you've been avoiding learning. Whatever it is, you have to name it clearly. You have to know exactly what you're working on before you can start improving it. Once you've identified your weakness, the key is to break it down into actions you can take in 1 hour. If your weakness is public speaking, that hour could be spent practicing out loud, recording yourself, and making adjustments. If your weakness is poor time management, that hour could be spent planning your day with precision, reviewing where you've lost time, and setting up systems to stop it from happening again. If your weakness is physical health, that hour could be invested in training, meal preparation, or learning about nutrition. The point is to spend that time directly confronting the thing you've been letting hold you back. The reason this works so powerfully is because weaknesses often feel overwhelming when we think about fixing them all at once. We imagine months or years of work and decide it's too big to tackle now. But when you commit to 1 hour, you shrink it into something you can start immediately. You don't have to fix it completely today, you just have to take one solid step toward removing it from your life. Over time, those steps stack, and what once felt like a permanent limitation becomes an area of strength. When you work on a weakness with full focus, you're doing more than just building skill, you're changing your relationship with it. Many people avoid their weaknesses because they feel embarrassed by them, they pretend they don't exist, or try to hide them. But when you face a weakness head-on, that embarrassment turns into ownership. You stop seeing it as a permanent flaw and start seeing it as something you have the power to improve. That shift in mindset is as valuable as the skill itself. You have to expect that working on a weakness will feel uncomfortable. That's normal. By definition, it's an area where you're not strong yet. You might feel awkward, slow, or frustrated while working on it. You might fail more than you succeed in the beginning, but discomfort is proof you're in the right place. If it was easy, it wouldn't be a weakness, it would already be a strength. That discomfort is a signal that you're growing. To get the most from this hour, remove anything that can pull your attention away. You can't afford to dilute the effort. This is not the time to check your phone, answer messages, or take unrelated breaks. Weaknesses don't improve with half effort. They improve when you give them full deliberate attention. For 60 minutes, that weakness becomes the only thing that matters. You analyze it, work on it, and push it forward without letting anything else in. Tracking your progress is also important. Weaknesses can feel like they're not changing, even when they are. Keep a simple record of what you've done in each hour you dedicate to improvement. Over time you'll see that you're getting faster, more accurate, more confident, or more skilled. Those small changes are easy to miss in the moment, but become obvious when you look back at the record. That proof will keep you motivated to keep going. You'll also start to notice how fixing one weakness improves other areas of your life. For example, if you become better at managing your time, you'll also reduce stress, improve the quality of your work, and make more space for opportunity. If you develop confidence in speaking, you'll not only communicate better, but also build stronger relationships and open doors you couldn't before. Weaknesses are rarely isolated, they affect everything around them. Fixing one can create a chain reaction of improvement. Some people avoid working on weaknesses because they think it's better to double down on strengths. And while strengths are important, ignoring weaknesses entirely can limit how far your strengths can take you. A small weakness in the wrong place can hold you back more than a strong skill can push you forward. Think of it like building a house. No matter how beautiful the design is, if the foundation is cracked, the whole thing is at risk. When you commit to this hour daily or even weekly, you start removing the limitations that have been silently controlling your outcomes. You replace hesitation with confidence. You replace avoidance with action. You replace frustration with progress, and over time you notice that situations where you used to feel out of your depth now feel manageable. That's not an accident, that's the result of repeatedly choosing to work on the thing you used to run from. Working on weaknesses also builds humility. It reminds you that you're not done learning, no matter how experienced or skilled you are in other areas. It keeps you open to feedback, willing to change, and focused on growth. That humility is a strength in itself, because it allows you to adapt and improve faster than those who think they already know enough. It's worth recognizing that fixing a weakness isn't always about adding something new. It can also be about removing something harmful. A bad habit, a poor mindset, or an unproductive behavior can be just as damaging as a missing skill. If your weakness is procrastination, use your hour to take immediate action on something you've been putting off. If it's negative self-talk, spend your hour challenging and replacing those thoughts with better ones. If it's a lack of follow-through, use the hour to finish something you've left undone. The discipline to keep showing up for this hour, even when it's uncomfortable, is what will separate you from the majority of people who never address their weaknesses. Most will keep doing what's familiar and easy, staying exactly where they are, but you will have trained yourself to do what's necessary, even when it's hard. That habit will serve you in every area of life, because growth always demands that you step outside of comfort. Eventually, the weakness you're working on now can become one of your strengths, not because you ignored it, but because you invested the time to change it. And when that happens, you'll not only feel more capable, you'll have proof that you can tackle any other weakness that shows up in the future. That kind of self-belief is built, not given, and this 1-hour practice is one of the fastest ways to build it. So choose one weakness today. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start with one focused hour, use that time to face it directly, and make tangible progress. Repeat it often enough, and you'll look back one day and realize that the thing that once held you back is now one of the reasons you're ahead. And that transformation will be worth every minute you put into it.
Chapter 8. Work 1 hour without letting your mind escape once. When you sit down to work, your mind often doesn't stay with you for long. You start with focus, but within minutes it drifts, thinking about something that happened earlier, planning what you'll do later, or jumping toward whatever distraction is nearby. This constant mental escape is the reason so many people put in hours without producing anything meaningful. The difference between a distracted hour and an hour of complete mental presence is enormous. When you work for 1 hour without letting your mind escape even once, the depth and quality of what you achieve can be far beyond what you thought possible. This isn't about simply sitting in one place for an hour. It's about training your attention to stay exactly where you've decided it belongs. Most people underestimate how slippery attention can be. They think they're working, but their mind is wandering half the time. They're reading something but thinking about lunch. They're writing, but already imagining what the rest of the day will look like. This split focus costs more than just time. It costs depth, accuracy, and quality. Working without mental escape means you treat that hour as a commitment to be fully present. The moment you notice your mind drifting, you bring it back immediately. You don't follow the thought. You don't give in to the curiosity of just checking something else. You anchor yourself to the work in front of you as if nothing else exists. This level of discipline is rare because it's difficult, but it's also one of the fastest ways to improve the value of your work. The challenge is that your mind will resist. It's used to hopping between thoughts, following impulses, and chasing stimulation. Staying with one thing for 60 minutes goes against the patterns you've built over years. That's why it requires deliberate practice. You have to catch yourself in the act of drifting and choose over and over to stay. At first you may have to do this dozens of times in a single hour. Over time, the number of times you drift will decrease, and your ability to hold attention will grow stronger. To work like this, preparation is essential. Your environment must support your goal.
Every potential escape needs to be removed before you start. Put your phone in another room. Close all unrelated tabs and apps. Clear your workspace of anything that might tempt you to shift focus. The fewer options your mind has to wander toward, the easier it will be to stay in the work. The hour should feel like a closed space with only one door, and that door leads directly into the task you've chosen. Before starting, be clear about exactly what you're going to do in that hour. A vague idea like work on the project gives your mind too much room to drift. Instead, define a specific objective, finish a section, solve a particular problem, or reach a measurable milestone. Having a clear target gives your mind something firm to hold on to, reducing the pull of unrelated thoughts. When you begin, expect that your attention will try to leave. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's how the mind works. What matters is your ability to notice the moment it happens. The instant you realize your thoughts have strayed, pull them back. Don't get frustrated about drifting, just return. Every time you do this, you're strengthening the muscle of focus. You're building the ability to control where your mind goes instead of letting it control you. The rewards for this kind of focus are immediate. You'll find that you get more done in one uninterrupted hour than in several hours of scattered effort. The work will have fewer mistakes, require less revision, and carry more depth. You'll also feel a different kind of satisfaction when you finish. Instead of feeling drained from constant mental switching, you'll feel accomplished because you truly gave yourself to the task. One of the biggest benefits is the way this practice sharpens your awareness. When you train yourself to notice the moment your mind escapes, you become more conscious in other parts of your life as well. You'll catch yourself drifting in conversations and pull yourself back to listen fully. You'll notice when you're half engaged in something important and choose to bring your full attention. This awareness changes how you show up for everything, not just work. It's worth noting that mental escape doesn't always look like obvious distraction. Sometimes it shows up as overthinking, daydreaming, or getting lost in planning instead of doing. Even if your thoughts are still about the task, if they're not moving the work forward, they're still an escape. The discipline here is to keep your mind connected to active progress, not just circling around in thought. As you practice, you may also notice that time feels different. In distracted work, time drags because you're constantly switching and starting over. In deep, uninterrupted focus, time can move quickly because you're fully immersed. This immersion is where your best work happens. It's where you connect ideas faster, solve problems more creatively, and feel the satisfaction of being completely engaged. There will be moments when the urge to escape feels almost physical. You might feel restless, tired, or impatient. That's when the training matters most. If you can push through that urge without giving in, you'll discover that it passes. On the other side, you often find a deeper level of focus than you had before. Many people never reach this stage because they quit the moment it gets uncomfortable. If you stay, you'll be working in a space most never access. This hour isn't about perfection, it's about commitment. Even if your mind tries to leave 50 times, what matters is that you bring it back 50 times. The strength is in the return. Over days and weeks, you'll notice that the number of escapes drop. The effort you once needed just to stay with the work will be replaced by a natural ability to remain in it. That's when focus stops being something you have to force and starts being a habit you live by. The impact of this habit goes far beyond a single hour. Once you can control your attention for that length of time, you can apply it to anything: learning a new skill, solving complex problems, building something important, or even just being fully present in moments that matter. The ability to stay is a competitive advantage in every area of life. Many people think they need more time to accomplish more, but what they really need is to make better use of the time they already have. One focused hour without mental escape can replace half a day of scattered work. When you understand that, you stop wishing for more hours and start demanding more from the ones you have. So when you commit to this practice, treat it with the seriousness it deserves. Set the stage before you begin. Know exactly what you're going to work on. Remove everything that can pull you away. Start the clock and make the promise to yourself, for the next 60 minutes. I am here, I am in this work, fully, and when the urge to drift comes, and it will, you will notice it and you will stay. Do this consistently, and you'll see changes in your results, in your efficiency, and in your sense of control over your own mind. You'll stop feeling at the mercy of distractions and start feeling in command of your attention. And that is one of the most valuable skills you can ever build, because when you own your focus, you own your future.
Chapter 9. Give 1 hour daily to building results you can feel. Most people go through their days doing things that keep them busy but leave them with nothing tangible to show for it. They spend hours in motion, but end the day without a real sense of progress. The problem isn't that they're not working, it's that they're not building results. They can actually feel. Real results are measurable, noticeable, and impactful. They change the way you see yourself and the way your life looks from the outside. When you give 1 focused hour daily to building results you can feel, you shift from simply filling time to creating something that truly moves you forward. Results you can feel are the ones that have weight. You can see them in your body when you train, in your income when you close a deal, in your skill level when you practice with intention, in your confidence when you complete a challenging task. They're not vague, they're not abstract. They're proof, and proof changes your relationship with your goals because it replaces hope with evidence. The first step to building results is deciding exactly what those results should be. This is where many people get lost. They work towards something without defining what progress will look like, and as a result, they never know if they're getting closer. Before you start your hour, be crystal clear about the outcome you're aiming for. It could be a finished section of a project, a set number of quality reps in training, a specific improvement in a skill, or a concrete problem solved. The clearer the target, the stronger your focus will be. Once you have that target, the key is to give your full energy to it for the entire hour. This isn't time for passive effort. Passive effort produces little to nothing. If you want results you can feel, you have to work with enough intensity to make an impact. That means pushing yourself, not just going through the motion. It means challenging your limits and doing the work at a standard that ensures the result is noticeable by the end of the session. The reason 1 hour can be so powerful is because of focus. Most people spread their attention across too many things, and each one gets only a fraction of their energy. By narrowing that focus to one goal for 1 hour, you're concentrating your effort where it matters most. This creates momentum, and when momentum builds, results follow faster than you expect. It's important to track what you're doing during these hours. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Keep a record of what you achieved in each session, so you can look back and see the progress over time. This not only keeps you accountable but also keeps you motivated. There's nothing more encouraging than seeing the proof that your efforts are stacking up into something meaningful. Results you can feel also change your mindset. When you consistently see progress, your belief in your ability to create change grows. That belief fuels more action, and more action fuels more result. It's a cycle, but it has to start with that initial decision to work for something tangible instead of staying busy with things that lead nowhere. One of the biggest challenges here is avoiding work that feels productive, but isn't. It's easy to get caught up in tasks that make you look active, but don't actually move you closer to your goal. If you want results you can feel, you have to be ruthless about cutting those out of your focused hour. Every minute should be spent doing something that directly produces the outcome you're aiming for. That's how you make that hour worth 10 times its length. You'll find that when you make this a daily habit, your sense of control over your life increases. Instead of waiting for change to happen, you're building it piece by piece. You're no longer relying on luck or outside circumstances to improve your situation. You're creating the improvement yourself.
And because you can see and feel the difference each day, you're less likely to drift into periods of inaction. There's also a psychological reward to this kind of work. At the end of the day, you can look back and know you made progress you can touch, see, or measure. That feeling of accomplishment is more than just satisfying, it's motivating. It makes you want to show up again tomorrow and do it again, because you're no longer working in the dark. You know your effort pays off and you have proof of it. You should also be aware that not every result will be massive right away. Some will be small but significant. The point isn't to achieve something huge every day, it's to make daily contributions that stack into something huge over time. 1 hour of focused improvement each day equals over 350 hours in a year. That's enough to transform your body, master a new skill, build a business, write a book, or completely change your income level. To get the most out of this practice, protect this hour as if it's non-negotiable. Schedule it into your day and refuse to give it away. Treat it like an important meeting you cannot miss. When you show up consistently, you're sending yourself a clear message: this matters. And when something matters enough to get your full attention every day, it grows. This habit also teaches you to value depth over volume. You could spend your entire day doing shallow, surface-level work that never accumulates into anything meaningful. Or you could spend 1 hour digging deep into the work that actually changes your position. That depth is what produces results you can feel. It's what turns effort into progress, and progress into achievement. Along the way, you'll face moments when the temptation to ease off will appear. You'll think you can get away with giving less effort, or you'll want to switch to something easy. These moments are critical. How you handle them will determine whether your hour produces real results or just the illusion of work. Push through them. Remind yourself why you're here. You're not here to simply pass the time, you're here to produce something you can point to and say, that's the result of my effort today. One of the most powerful aspects of working this way is that it compounds over time. The more days you string together where you build real results, the faster your growth accelerates. And as your results grow, so does your confidence, your skill, and your ability to take on bigger challenges. This is how people go from ordinary progress to extraordinary outcomes. Not through giant leaps, but through consistent, deliberate hours of high-impact work. You also start thinking differently about what's worth your time. When you're used to building results you can feel, you become less willing to waste time on activities that don't lead anywhere. Your standard for how you spend your time rises, and that standard affects everything you do. You stop saying yes to meaningless work, and you start saying yes only to actions that bring you closer to where you want to be. By making this hour a part of your daily life, you're building a body of work, something that exists because you showed up every day to create it. Over weeks and months, you'll see the evidence of your efforts stack up in front of you. That evidence is powerful. It reminds you that change isn't just possible, it's within your control. So choose something today that will give you a result you can feel by the end of your hour. Do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Keep building, keep stacking, keep creating. 1 hour at a time, you'll not only see the difference, you'll feel it in every part of your life. Chapter 10. Spend 1 hour making progress you can't ignore tomorrow. There's a difference between doing something today and doing something today that will matter tomorrow. A lot of what fills your day disappears by the next morning. The emails you answered, the quick errands you ran, the easy tasks you checked off, they're gone from memory and they leave no real impact. But when you spend 1 hour making progress that you can't ignore tomorrow, you're creating something that forces you to keep going. It's the kind of progress that sits in front of you the next day and demands that you build on it. That's the work that changes things. This kind of progress is different from just being busy. It's intentional, it's visible, and it has weight. You can point to it and say, this matters. It might be the chapter you wrote for your book, the critical step in a business plan, the physical training session that moves you closer to your goal, the piece of a project that changes how the whole thing works. Whatever it is, it's not something you can just brush aside. It's there tomorrow, and it will still be there next week. The reason most people don't make this kind of progress is because it's demanding. It requires deep focus and the willingness to work on something that's significant enough to challenge you. It's easier to fill the day with smaller tasks that make you feel productive in the moment, but leave no lasting footprint. That's why this hour has to be chosen carefully. You're not just working, you're building something that will carry forward into tomorrow. To make this work, you first have to identify what can't be ignored means for you. It could be the completion of a milestone that moves your project from planning to execution. It could be solving a problem that's been slowing you down for weeks. It could be making tangible progress on a skill you've committed to mastering. The key is that it's something that will remain relevant tomorrow. It won't fade into the background like 100 minor tasks do. Once you know what that is, you have to approach the hour with seriousness. This isn't casual work time. This is an hour you protect from every possible distraction. No scrolling, no answering calls, no bouncing between tabs. You're here for one reason, and until the hour is over, nothing else exists. This level of attention is what turns 60 minutes into a turning point rather than just another block of time. When you're working like this, you'll notice that your pace changes. You stop wasting time on things that don't move the work forward. You stop overcomplicating decisions. You focus on the actions that will get you to a place where by the end of the hour, you can see and feel that something significant has changed. That's the kind of momentum that doesn't vanish overnight. It pulls you into the next day with clarity and energy. The next morning is where the real power of this approach shows up. You'll sit down to work, and the progress you made yesterday will be waiting for you. It's not an abstract idea, it's right there in front of you. That's when you realize you've set yourself up to keep going. You don't have to waste time figuring out where to start because you've already started. You're already in motion, and that motion is much easier to maintain than it is to create from nothing. This habit also builds something deeper, the ability to make decisions based on long-term value instead of short-term satisfaction. Most people pick tasks based on what feels urgent right now, not on what will matter tomorrow. By committing to 1 hour of progress you can't ignore, you're training yourself to choose work that creates future momentum. That shift in thinking is one of the most powerful changes you can make in how you approach your day. It's important to note that this progress doesn't have to mean finishing something completely. In fact, sometimes it's better if it's not finished. Leaving something important in motion means you're more likely to pick it up quickly the next day. The goal is not to close it out, it's to move it far enough forward that it's impossible to ignore when you return. That's how you create a chain of progress that keeps pulling you forward day after day. The discipline here comes from being able to resist the pull of easy win. It's tempting to fill your hour with tasks that you can finish quickly just to feel productive. But quick tasks rarely produce lasting progress. You have to choose the work that will still be relevant and valuable tomorrow, even if it takes longer, even if it's more complex, even if it forces you to think harder. That's where real progress lives. The benefit of working this way extends beyond the hour itself. Over time, you start building a body of work that reflects consistent, meaningful progress. You stop having to restart from scratch every week because your work carries forward naturally. You create a rhythm of progress where each day builds on the one before. That rhythm compounds, and before long, the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to close. There's also a psychological advantage. When you end your day knowing you've made progress that will be there tomorrow, you go to bed with a sense of accomplishment and direction. You're not ending on a vague hope that tomorrow will be better. You're ending with the certainty that tomorrow already has a starting point. That clarity removes hesitation in the morning and makes it easier to get into motion quickly. The more you do this, the more you start to think about your time differently. You begin to measure your days, not by how many hours you worked, but by how much lasting progress you made. You start cutting out activities that leave nothing behind, and replacing them with actions that build on each other. That's how you turn a scattered schedule into a consistent path forward. This habit also trains you to think about sustainability, because you're always looking for progress you can build on tomorrow. You stop chasing random bursts of effort that lead to burnout. Instead, you create steady, intentional forward motion. That steady motion may feel slower at times, but it adds up to more than sporadic sprints ever could. Over weeks and months, this approach changes the way you operate. You'll notice that your projects finish faster, your skills improve more quickly, and your goals feel closer, because you've been making daily contributions you can actually see. You'll stop feeling like you're stuck in place because each day leaves you further ahead than the last. To make the most of this practice, you have to be deliberate not just in choosing the task, but in how you approach it. Start your hour knowing exactly what success will look like by the end. Be specific enough that when you stop, you can say with certainty that you made progress that will still matter tomorrow. That level of clarity ensures that your effort produces something tangible, not just a feeling of being busy. At the end of the hour, take a moment to recognize what you've done. Look at the progress, feel it, acknowledge that it's something you can build on. That recognition matters because it reinforces the value of the habit. It reminds you why this way of working is worth protecting. When you string enough of these hours together, you'll look back and see how much has changed. The work you've done will be visible, the progress undeniable. You won't have to wonder if your time was well spent because the results will speak for themselves. And it will all come from the decision to make each day, leave behind something that can't be ignored tomorrow. That's the difference between just working and working with purpose. One fills time. The other builds a future. And 1 hour a day is enough to start building a future you can see, touch and feel. Day after day, until the results are too big for anyone, including yourself, to overlook.